Hello, my name is Jessica Little, and we are here for our next episode of Conversations and Cheese Boards. And today we have Mallory, our marketing guru here at Sweetgrass Dairy, and she has been a huge part of this business for how many years now?
Like 12?
A long time in many different roles and jobs and responsibilities, and yeah. It's a long time.
It has been a long time. I guess with like the business itself, maybe 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Like
but
having a
but
full
even
time.
when you were in college, you were doing events for Sweetgrass. So today we're going to talk about, we're really excited. We're getting ready to launch a new brand, or new branding, really, kind of for the first time. But I would love for you to kind of share this process with us, because I'm sure that you thought I was a little bit crazy when I came to you about a year and a half ago, and I said, I think we need to do some rebranding. We're having some issues. Like, what did you think?
I just kind of buckled up. It's been quite a journey, but I think now, as we're about to rebrand and seeing like the bigger picture of all the different assets, I think we're going to be in a much better place. To really grow our brand nationally, because there were so many, not issues, but limitations with our current logo and our current brand. So,
and we did do kind of a little bit of a rebrand maybe 4 years ago, like right when you graduated and kind of came back. And do you remember kind of that process? And
yes, I was on the tail end of that process, so I wasn't definitely like in the trenches as I am now, but I think going from the logo before to this logo is a very small change. So I think once people see our new rebrand, it's definitely more drastic. But I say that it's drastic, but in reality, it's not, the craziest rebrand that we could have ever done. I think we chose a more conservative change. But I mean, and you can speak for this as well, but your mother drew our first logo, so we've kind of stuck with that. And so this last one, we just kind of took the goat out and threw in a few more pine trees. But this one, we're really going to be able to take different pieces of this logo, and it's definitely more versatile.
Sure. So that was one thing that we saw, is that we were able to get these placements into new retailers or whatever, but we were having a hard time with pass through to the end consumer and really trying to tell our story. And what makes us most unique is that we can keep our cows on grass year round. And after a year of going back and forth, do you think that we've accomplished that feeling and emotion and storytelling in our new brand?
I think so, personally, and I've shown a couple people, and I know Liza, our national sales manager, has shown a couple different distributors and people the new rebranding, and I think it will resonate more with the end consumer, and I think it will definitely be more eye-catching in a cheese case. And I think our biggest limitation with our past logo was it was so tied to Green Hill, and so people were confusing that they thought as if we were Green Hill Dairy, not Sweetgrass Dairy, so they were often confusing the two. And so I think this really separates Sweetgrass Dairy from Green Hill, and it highlights that Green Hill is a cheese, not the name of a dairy. Yeah.
Sure. No, that makes sense. And then you are so artistic and talented, and you have just such a good knack for the evoking emotion and the way that things feel. And I would say I really love your color palette and the way that you are able to choose different colors. Like, how do you see kind of our new versus our old style guide and colors? How do you compare that to what we're going to be working with?
I think it was really important that we kept the green to prove that, our cows are on grass 365 days a year, and our grass is green. It is never brown. It's never, So I think carrying that green over to our new branding was really important. And so the green has only changed a couple shades. So hopefully, the consumer can still relate the two products. But my favorite, I think, out of all of the colors that our new palette holds, I think my favorite would definitely be Asher Blue. It's
Oh, so
like a deep earthy blue, and but that was actually my favorite part was going and like just picking through the colors and deciding like what finalizes our palette moving forward. And I think like Griffin, that like deep purple is a really pretty tone, but I think they're relatively similar and
in the same family.
Yeah, they're definitely in the same family, and they're definitely still earthy, natural. I honestly think they might be a bit more muted in this rebrand, but that was definitely the highlight of the rebrand in my book.
For sure. And then, you know, within our industry in the last couple of years, we've seen some larger corporations buy some artisan cheesemakers. And one of the things that we heard from people were, you know, no matter what you do, make sure that it still looks like it is a small family business. And, you know, have you kind of prepared yourself for storytelling and saying, you know, no, we are still family owned. We're still, you know, we are still the same company. We're not owned by a big conglomerate.
Well, I think it's definitely challenging with us moving into the new facility because we're going to have to drive that home even more because we've invested all this money in a new production facility. So, but I think so. I mean, we worked with a branding agency in Boston, and I think they've been a great resource to help us, you know, understand the end consumer. I think having, you know, Liza with more of a retail background and then with 6 Point having done all the market research, I think we can continue to tell that story and to drive home the fact that we're not being bought out. We're still a small family-owned business, and you and Jeremy are still driving the bus. We're all just buckled up on seatbelts.
Hold on. So you were speaking. The branding company that we're working with is called 6 Point. They're from Massachusetts, and I was able to connect with Megan, the owner at the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, who I think they're amazing. They have a program it's called Solve for Why, and it's for second stage growth. And they've really given us some great assets to use, whether it's cheese cards and, you know, repack labels and shelf talkers, redesigned gift boxes. You know, for our e-commerce site, which right now kind of feels more important than ever.
For sure.
So I think that they've done a really good job, like you said, of doing all of that market research and trying to help us. And it's been nice that it's kind of an outsider's perspective and not just, you know, us. Sometimes I think we can't see the forest from the trees. We're too close.
For sure. And I think being so invested in Sweetgrass Dairy for such a long time, when we first started this rebrand, and they were giving us different options of like what direction the logo could go in, I was like so sweaty palmed. I was not comfortable at all because you do feel so invested in what we currently have, and it's, you know, it's what we've been using for nearly 20 years with small, you know, changes. But I think I definitely think this can take us to the next level, and I think it will resonate more from an end consumer perspective because, you know, moving more into retail, that's what really matters because it's already on a menu in food service if they're using our cheeses. So I think it definitely tells a story, and I think we've put more focus on usability and like making specialty cheese more pedestrian and like giving people the option, and then better understanding our story.
Sure. So I guess I would like to know, throughout this process, what do you think has been the most difficult? I mean, I know, I would say that sometimes it is hard. Like it's been such it's so valuable that you live in Atlanta. You don't live here in our hometown, Thomasville, which is, for those of you that don't know, it's 4 hours away, basically. So you have a finger on the pulse of our biggest major market and all of that stuff. But I think sometimes that's also challenging, you know, to not be here. Or what would you say has kind of been the hardest part throughout this process?
I think probably the hardest part is nailing down something and like being confident enough to be like, this is it, this is what we're going with, and we're moving forward. Like to close the door on the color palette and the verbiage that describes each cheese, and there's just so many different moving parts that it sometimes gets a little bit gray, and you're like, is this the right way? Like, are end consumers really gonna pick this up? I don't know. Like, let's hope.
We'll try.
No, I think it definitely has been such a great learning experience for me, because I mean, having gone to school for marketing, like I still fall into branding and marketing. Like sometimes I have to check myself out and I'm like, you're only buying this because it's pretty. Like, let's be honest, like the product itself is not that great. So I think that being so important to me, sometimes it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I think it definitely has been such a growth opportunity for myself personally, but also for the business. And you know, with them also being in Boston, it really, I'm not quite sure that they had ever invested this much time and effort, the branding agency, into artisanal cheese, which was really great because it really did give everyone an outsider's perspective on, you know, what people are gonna think. But
sure. Well, I mean, at the
I
end
don't know
of
if I answered that.
Yeah. Well, no, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's, you know, marketing is about that, getting people to purchase something, like inspiring that transaction, money in, money out. It doesn't necessarily, you know, it could be any product, but so it's, at the end of the day, it's understanding the science of how to get people to buy.
And like the behavior of the end consumer as well.
So what would you say now that we are here in the 11th hour, getting ready to launch? It's so exciting. We've been working on this for so long. What are you most proud of? I mean, you've worked so hard on this.
I think it was not just myself. It was an entire team of people. So I do not take any sort of credit for it. But I think it was really exciting when we had the labels printed and in hand, and to see the labels actually physically on the cheeses. And you know, I would like print them and take them to Murray's and Kroger and like just kind of see what they would look like in the cheese case. But I think I'm most proud of seeing the entire finished like brand guide, and know that like I said, the entire team had a say in the verbiage of how we described each cheese, or even out of the colors. I mean, we went back and forth on pimento packaging for quite a while. So I think just seeing the product as a whole and having a better understanding of what goes into just someone's labels, you know, it makes me I definitely stand in the grocery store a little bit longer and like really look and admire people's like creativity and the hard work that goes into it, because I don't think just an average person understands how long this process takes and how at some points draining it was.
Challenging. It's really challenging.
But I mean, I think it's really exciting, and I think it's also a really great time to do this because we have been in business for 20 years. So, you know, it's a great time to move into a new production facility and know that we have the assets that we need to move forward, because the old logo was really challenging. Like, you couldn't pull any part of it. It was just a circle, and really that was it. So I think it's really exciting to just see Sweetgrass Dairy grow and be so successful. It's fun to kind of have a small part of that.
A huge part. You have
I wouldn't say huge.
You know, a huge part. You are on the court too. I mean, you are in the trenches.
But yeah, I think just seeing it as a whole and like receiving the brand, you know, the brand book and looking at our story and how we can better explain that to people. Because like you said, being so invested in having been here for so long, it's sometimes hard to express my story to someone else, or like someone else to say what I have to feel about it. So it's been fun to kind of really narrow down our focus.
Sure, and kind of stair step for the next thing. Like, although we're not able to do any food shows this year with like a redesigned booth or anything, but being prepared for whenever we are able to get back out there and tell that story
and show it to everyone.
It is. I mean, it is truly an exciting time, and you know, unfortunately, we hope that we were going to be able to throw a big party getting into the new facility this fall, and that doesn't look like that's going to happen. So we're going to have to do a lot of this virtually. So I think that we'll need to task you with a virtual
Zoom
party on the ground, you know, getting into the new facility with the new branding and everything.
For sure.
Well, with that said, I will say, I give a toast to you, Mel, and all of your hard work, and for a very, very successful rebrand.
Yes, I hope you enjoy it.
I hope you enjoy it too. Cheers.
Cheers.